time to get the fire pit set up. Always got a pair of gloves there, because this stuff gets a bit sooty, black as buggery if you don't have a pair of gloves handy. Old Snow Peak fire pit. Try and get it level. Got a bit of a supply of firewood there. There's probably actually enough there for tonight and tomorrow, plus a little bit left over. In reality, it's easier to get it down now than trying to get it down later on in the dark. So I'll get it down now, split it up, process it, get it ready. Got the Snow Peak set up. I use the grill pretty much all the time. It sits on there, easy enough. Adjust the height, but I find it's easier to bring the fire up to the grill rather than lower the grill, because you've still got room to feed a bit of material in, a bit of wood in. Just going to have a bit of a run through on all our standard campfire cooking kit that we carry around. It sort of dawned on me that we've got a few bits and pieces that people might be interested in, and it's evolved over the years, and it is what it is we've got today, and no doubt it'll keep evolving as we see new ideas, learn new things, stumble across bits and pieces. So this has proven to be a fantastic setup, this Snow Peak fire pit. There's other versions of it around, and I've got a dedicated video out there you can look online about why we've chosen to have a fire pit as opposed to an open fire. The other thing you'll notice, I've put the gloves on straight away. Handling this stuff, you get covered in soot. You can see the gloves are already black, but you just get covered in it and you're forever bloody touching stuff and getting soot everywhere. So I always go the gloves. But the other reason I go the gloves, you have a look, the back of the hand, every time I touch a bit of wood or knock my hand, I get bloody knock myself around. So I put the gloves on. There's a syndrome out there called Norman syndrome. But basically the syndrome is whenever you touch a bit of wood or you get into the outdoors, you knock yourself around and you end up bloody bleeding everywhere. And to that end, I put gloves on so that protect my hands, because no doubt the minute I don't have them on, I knock myself around. Proof's in the pudding. So wear my gloves for doing this sort of bits and pieces, but to that end, I always have my hanky in my pocket. Multi-purpose. Wraps me up when I bloody knock myself around. It's an age thing, I think. Your skin gets that thin and bloody, you only got to touch it and they start bleeding. That's why it's called Norman syndrome. But anyway, I have my hanky. Always bloody mop up the wounds, but it comes in handy. It's Bushman's oven mitt. Using the billy, you'll see that later on. It's good for picking up the hot pots and grabbing the handles and stuff without bloody burning. And we all do it, don't we? Usually the first time on the trip, go to pick up the hot billy. Righto, that's right. Remember, don't pick up the hot billy with the handle. You know, so the gloves, we've gone on enough about the gloves. Stack of firewood there, processed. Always keep these handy. Sitting over there, ready to go. Oh, the other thing is the Snow Peak also comes with a tray, an ash tray that you can put underneath. I don't use it often. If I'm in a nice manicured campsite or something with green grass and that sort of thing, you put it under, it stops the heat scorching the green grass. Caravan parks tend to like that. Don't scorch their grass. Righto, over here. Now, this is something that was custom made when we got the camper built, and it was this particular drawer. You can see there's cutouts. The drawer sides aren't full depth, it's cutouts. Oh, got some good specials in there. I always get me hooker, homemade, tool number 1234. Homemade hooker, that's part of our critical campfire cooking equipment. I'll hang that over there. So yeah, I've got this custom built drawer. So I've got my pots and everything in there, all easily accessible. I used to have things nested, but that was a pain in the bum. So I've got my pots stored individually, and we'll have a look at that in a sec. And sits in here nicely. It's up high, there's no weight in it, so it's in the top drawer there. It's out of the way, works quite well. But having the cutaway sides means that you don't have to try and peer in. You can see what's going on. The stuff can sit higher, but it's easily accessible, and you can pull stuff in and out over the sides. I have a couple of little billies that I carry around, dedicated. I think that's about a 2 litre billy. has its own little bag, bloody the end of an old pair of jeans sewn up, so who would have thought. And then a slightly larger billy, 3 litre I think this one is. And this one is really the hot water service. That's what this one comes in, the cooking pot really, but the hot water service and almost a dedicated tea billy. Now, both of these pots are stainless steel. That one's quite tannin stained because it's always making the tea in there. So it's got its own flavour going on. And the other one's clean. But they're stainless steel. You don't tend to get any oxidising going on with any moisture that might have been left in there from yesterday, last trip, whatever. Doesn't tend to oxidise the billy. That I found that happens with aluminium billies, and the first cup of tea or two always tastes a bit, how you doing? Anyway, so stainless 3 litre, and that's good enough. If we fill that up and boil it, that's for our dishwater. We find that's a good volume for doing our dishes of an evening. And you know, out of there we get, if we half fill our tea billy, that's good enough for 3 cuppers. We fill it up, we'll get half a dozen cups out of that, but usually only 3 of us. And the big billy, the 3 litre, is also good for filling up our thermos, 2 litre thermos, and then there's always a bit left over for splashing the morning dishes or making the mum's porridge. You can sort of get it all done in one hit. So stainless steel billies. And of course, this is where the hooker comes in handy. You've got a nice good fire, the flames are coming up, and you just use your hooker to pick up the pots. Saves getting those burnt fingers. And the oven mitt comes in handy as well. If you've got a pour, pick it up and you can use your oven mitt, Bushman's oven mitt. Alright, the other important bit of kit is our Hillbilly spun steel frying pan. That gets used, I'm going to say every day, almost every meal we use that. Now this was an early version that didn't have a folding handle. It was a bolt-on handle, and you used to have a couple of wing nuts to screw it on and off, but that was painful. So I made up this version here, which is a folding handle, a hinged handle, and I've noticed Hillbilly do that now as well. So the new Hillbilly frying pans have a, well, the ones I've seen have a hinged handle, and that just means it all packs up out of the way, fits in the pot drawer, perfect. They get used every day. That combination you see there pretty much comes out every day. We can cook most meals with that setup, but there is more. So probably one of the last bits of kit that we use occasionally. Doesn't see a lot of use, but it's handy when we do use it. And we've recently had an epiphany and found another use for it. That's making pizzas. Beautiful. You know, this is a Australian made, I think it's called Australian Metal Spinners is the brand, but it's a spun steel camp oven. It's a reasonable size. I can't remember the volume, doesn't matter. But it's not the smallest, I don't think, but it's a reasonable size. And that's, we have a few bits and pieces in there as well, I'll show you them. But if you have a look in the bottom here, it's got a trivet in it. It sits in the bottom there. Probably could do with a bit of a clean. That sits in there, keeps your meat or whatever, spuds and veggies off the floor, or your cake or whatever you're cooking. That's a fair volume, and we don't cook a lot of roasts, but it's handy to have. There's not a lot of weight in it. It's not like a big heavy cast iron kit, which I'd struggle to get it out of that drawer. The old truck would get it lean. So these are a good configuration. All the handles all fold up nice and compact and aren't bulky. But in there I have nested in there just this little kit of bits and pieces, and these don't get a lot of use either, but when they do get used they're greatly appreciated. So these are just a couple of baking items. Classic old steamer for making steam pudding. You make your mix up and drop it into the pot with the boiling water, and that'll just cook away. Nice steam pudding. And we don't use a lot, but when we do, ooh, it's good. And then I think they call it a donut tin for making cake. So the old donut tin fits in there, cook up a cake. And the reason for using the donut tin as opposed to a full cake tin is you get the heat in the middle as well, and it cooks the whole thing a little bit more evenly, and probably a little bit quicker, but more evenly. So they're just a couple of little sort of ancillary bits and pieces that we have tucked away there. They don't take up any room, they don't weigh anything. They've got their own little bag, because the old camp oven can get a little bit grimy at times, oily more than anything. And they just sit in there, and that little bag also stops everything rattling around. This is something I picked up somewhere. So that just all sits in there nicely. So what we've found recently, the camp oven, and we might show you this tomorrow night. We did it a couple of nights ago. But if we turn that lid, we leave them in, that's right, we leave them in, turn the lid up that way, upside down, put that on the fire. That's the right size for a pizza base. Get rid of the trivet, we don't need the trivet. Use the handles, sit that over there. So you put your pizza on the base there, on the lid, sit that over there. Beautiful. And if you needed to, you could put a few coals up on there and get a little bit of heat from the top, but that works really well. And you still got your handles. Using your gloves, of course, you can get in there, slide your pizza off the base. Perfect. Still get your billies on the side if you need to. Keep your dishwater warming up while you're at it. Oh, look at that. Pizza number 1. Number 2. It took about 8 minutes. So in essence, that's our standard campfire cooking kit. I think out of all of those bits and pieces there, we can cook up a feed that satisfies us on most occasions. There is one more thing. I'll come over here and I'll show you this one. Now, hidden in here under the bread, this is a good spot to keep the bread because it doesn't get crushed, if I can find it. Well, it's something we also have if need be, handling the camp oven. It's a pair of welding gloves. Sometimes things can get a little bit hot for the old riggers gloves, so a pair of welder's gloves comes in handy. We put them in there. Oh, white chocolate and raspberry biscuits, chips. Oh. Righto, let's have a look in here. 1, 2, right, over here again. So what we got here is a couple of single jaffle irons. The reason we have singles is you're more universal. You can be working on or cooking one and be preparing the next rather than have two, and it's actually easier to work around in the fire having 2 separate ones on the coals. So these are good not only for your standard old jaffle toasted sandwich, but you throw a bit of bacon and egg in your sandwich, you got a breakfast meal. Last night we made a apple pie in there, and you might see that on one of the videos. We've made our classic apple pie jaffle, so apple jaffle with fresh long life cream. Special ingredients put in there, and you've got an apple pie, so a dessert as well. So they are unbelievably versatile, simple, indestructible. You can sit them up on top of the snow peak on the grill and just get that slow sort of drawn out heat, or if you want a little bit quicker, toast things up, you can put them down in on the coals themselves. Sit them in under there and just flip them over. But yeah, we've gone 2 separate ones just for versatility. Probably a bit easier to pack and all that sort of stuff. The pot drawer pretty much done and dusted. To complement that, there's always a few other bits and pieces, of course. We have a couple of, it's got the rubbish, we keep the rubbish in it during the day, but we have a couple of washing up dishes, and they nest inside each other. One over there at the moment we're being used, 2 of them. One's usually the bathroom, we have full of water just for keeping ourselves clean around camp, and the other one's usually the washing up dish. And when we're out in the desert like we've been, we tend to capture all the water so that in the morning we can put the fire out and we're not using fresh, clean water, we're using our wastewater. So that means that, you know, we're maximising the efficiency with our water, and we're not having to carry more than we need, but we're also putting the fire out. And with the Snow Peak system, with this fire pit system, you actually don't end up with a lot of ash. So in the morning we can usually throw a few sticks in and just have a stick fire, which will give us enough heat to boil our couple of billies, cook our breakfast, which is usually pretty simple, but you don't need much of a fire just to cook a simple breakfast. And so you don't end up with a lot, you know, half a bucket of ash is probably all you get. And the water that we've used, our wastewater, is usually enough to put that bit of fire out. All right, so the sun's almost down behind that hill there, so I reckon that's probably enough time. We'll park that up there, we'll get the fire going, because yep, it's nearly 6 o'clock, 5:30 locally. So yep, we'll be getting cold and it'll be getting dark soon. So look, I hope you enjoyed that. That was just a quick little simple run through of our basic campfire cooking kit. There's probably bits and pieces that we complement it with, but that's the basics. It's all there, look at it, it's not much. Doesn't weigh much, that's the important bit, and it's easy to use, and most things have got multi-use. That's the other important piece, that there's no use having things that only do one thing. You know, our Jaffa Lions will cook dinner, they'll cook breakfast, they'll cook pudding. Our billies, hot water service, tea billy, cooking pots, camp oven, makes pizzas as we found out, and it's a hot water service if need be. You could have a bath in it if you wanted, cook a roast, and then the frying pan. It's just ultra versatile. Things like the hooker, you know, you think, oh, that gets the pots out, but it's good for reaching into the camper and pulling out the crocks the lad's thrown too far in and no one can reach. You can reach in and drag them out. So there you go. If you've got any tips or tricks that you reckon we can add to or complement our kit, let us know. Put a comment down in the description, you know, but we're happy to share our ideas and our processes with you, and hopefully you'll take something out of it and you think, oh yeah, I might be able to incorporate that or modify my system to work a little bit more efficiently. But we've sort of certainly refined it over the years, and that's where we've got to. So if you like that video, give us a thumbs up, don't forget, leave the comment below, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and most importantly, look after yourself. We'll see you next time. There's only one thing left to do, and that's to light the bloody fire, put the billy on, sit back and actually warm up, because it's freezing cold. Mum's over in the background there shivering and saying, hurry up, I'm getting cold, get the fire going. So we better do that. So to that end, I haven't got it on me.